Welcome to Caregivers Haven podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping families who are caregivers of a loved one with a mental illness gain peace of mind. Even though this is a podcast focused on family caregivers of the mentally ill, much of the discussion can be helpful to any caregiver. Your host is Sandra, your caregiver nurse consultant who, as a family caregiver, shares her passion for helping others and her lived experiences as a caregiver to provide education, support, and resources to other families. Sandra is a registered nurse and many of her guests are healthcare professionals. However, this is not a professional podcast, nor will be associated with any mental health counseling or medical doctor. Please seek help with a professional provider if needed.
Hey caregivers, this self-care journey really is a journey. I just don't always get it right. I'm doing way better, so it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I fall off the wagon and just don't take great care of myself. Case in point, the other day I had a really busy day, but I had my to-do list, I had everything ready, so I was just going through the day, checking things off. I made sure my family member who I take care of got their breakfast, their morning medication, their doctor appointment, then their lunch. I mean, we're just going through the day, getting it done. And so our last stop was at the grocery store. And so I'm rushing through the grocery store, getting all the stuff we need to get. And we get to the checkout line. And what's at the checkout line? Lots of goodies. Chips on this side, chocolate bars on that side. And without even thinking, I just grabbed a bag of Cheetos, grabbed a chocolate bar, and I was getting ready to pay. But luckily, right before I paid, I was like, why am I getting all this stuff? Like, what am I doing? And then I realized I was hungry. I was really hungry. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I had not eaten all day. And then I started thinking, like, if I didn't eat, have I drank anything? I hadn't even drank anything all day, which meant I didn't take my morning meds either if I hadn't drank anything. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did it again. I made sure everybody was taken care of for the day. Everybody had everything they need, but I didn't take care of me. Total caregiver thing. I know that I'm not the only one who does that. And like I said, luckily I don't do it very often. But today I'm trying to improve like on my nutrition and my diet because I have some health issues that I want to get rid of. And I'm trying to pour in more nutrition, but how can I pour in more nutrition if I'm forgetting to feed myself? Don't make sense, right? So I've got to do better. But today, on this episode, we have a theme that we're going through, which is called Back to the Basics of Self-Care. And so today we're going to be talking about back to the basics of self-care with nutrition. And we have a nutritionist on, and she's going to give us some tips on how to take better care of ourselves when we're dealing with diet and nutrition. So stand by. All right. Hey, caregivers, how are you today? I'm going to ask you, are you taking some time to rest and relax and rejuvenate? I hope so, because, we as caregivers, we cannot keep going if we don't do that. We can't continue to take care of our loved one. So today, I'm so excited. We have Miss Robin here today. And I met Robin. She came and did a presentation at my Zumba class. I guess it's been like 6, maybe even 8 years ago. It was a while ago. She came and did a presentation. And then I took one of her courses. I was using her products. So I've known her for a while, but I'm going to read her bio so that you guys can get to know her a little bit better. So she is Robin Allen. She's a nutrition expert and the founder of Necessary Nutrition Academy. She has inspired thousands of people to embrace food and nutrition as a basis for fighting obesity, illness, and disease. Robin is an in-demand presenter conducting workshops, classes, and seminars on nutritional wellness throughout the Western United States. She has been featured on CNN Headline News and countless other media outlets sharing her insight on food and nutrition. She has also been recognized by several state and local officials for her work in women's health. Robin received her bachelor's degree from the University of Las Vegas, Nevada in 1996, and her master's from the University of Redlands in 2001, and an additional nutrition certification from the Global College of Natural Medicine in 2008. So my, you are an expert. And
yes,
welcome.
Thank you for having me. We get to talk about something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to first get started by saying that, to asking you, I have, ever since I had my kids, I've always like been struggling with my weight, trying to lose weight. And I've never been skinny. I've never, when I was growing up, I was never skinny. I was never obese, but I was regular, but I was regular on the side that could be very obese, very easily. And then after my kids, I'm always trying to lose weight. So I've tried Atkins, Weight Watchers. I've tried all these things. And I'm not really talking about weight. I don't really want to talk about weight loss today, but throughout all of those, I've worked with naturopaths, I've worked with herbalists, I've worked with, regular doctors. But one of the things that they all have in common, so if I lined up like 10 naturopaths or 10 dietitians or 10 nutritionists, one of the things they all have in common is no sugar, no junk food, no fried food. Like that idea is the same no matter which one of them I'm talking to, even though they might all say, oh, you should do intermittent fasting, or, oh, you should do Atkins, oh, you should do high carb, low carb. No matter what their thing is, that is always common. So do you agree with that, or what do you think about that?
So here's what I agree with. So it is true when we're talking about what's going into our bodies, right? So anything that we put in our body that is counterproductive, it's can be toxins in our body. Any professional is going to say, don't do those things, which include sugar and all of that stuff. So that is true. I also like to say, and this doesn't go out of style, and this is always said too, is that thinking about opposed to what not to put in our bodies, I like to think about what we have to put in our bodies. Because there's no way that on a long-term basis, somebody's going to avoid forever sugar and fried food. Like that's going to creep into the body. I mean, because it tastes good, right? So I was trying to say, we want to flood our bodies with more of what it needs to thrive versus thinking about what not to do. Put the good stuff in, because the good stuff, good foods, good nutrients, and we'll get to that if we do, and I hope we do, will overshadow. That's what we want to do. We want to put more in than we're putting more good in than the quote unquote bad. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I like that because, so my brother's always talking about, speaking positivity into your life. And so looking at it in that way, that's a positive way to look at it. Because now that you're saying that, think about, oh, I can't have this, I can't have that. That's like really negative. Awful. So looking at it the way that you're saying it is very, very positive. I like that.
I learned that just dealing with clients. It's been like 13 years. And if you tell somebody, don't eat this, don't eat that, and restrict this, they're like, I don't like life. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I love, peach cobbler. So that's awful, because food, life and food and all that we do, it's intertwined. That's a part of enjoyment. So to tell somebody don't when you're first starting off, it's just daunting. So I've found, and I like to say that I'm a strategist, because when I'm working with my clients and I'm talking to them, I need to hear what they think, feel, and believe so that I know what approach. And there's some people that they're like, okay, all or nothing. I want to cut this out, and that's their personality. But most people really, the question is, honestly, how can I do everything that I'm doing now and still lose weight and do all of those things, right? They really want to know that. And so a lot of my approach is, well, let's fill your body first with the good stuff. And then if you have room and desire for these other things, okay, but let's make sure we get this in your body first. And this I'm speaking of is, it's a lot of high quality produce. High quality produce has micronutrients. So people think a lot about macros, carbs and proteins and fats, but we're talking about at a cellular level what we need for our bodies to thrive. Because think about this, we're going to get all this toxins and salts and sugar. It's gonna get into your body. But if your cells don't have the armor, the strength to combat, that's when illnesses and cancers and diseases come about, because your cells are weakened. So I always think, let's build the cells so that you have the armor to do the things that you enjoy, which are unavoidable. Because not only just is there the foods, there's also toxins, right? So all of this nutrition that we want to put in our bodies is designed to mitigate the effects of not just the foods, but the toxins and all of these things. When people think about wellness, because there's nutrition, there's so much to it, but there's also, go ahead.
So since you said that word, I just so that our audience, and you know, by the way, audience, I forgot to tell you today's episode is about self-care and nutrition. Robin is we're learning about nutrition, but then she's also going to talk about where that comes in with self-care, because as caregivers, we don't always practice self-care. You know, a lot of times my family member has breakfast, lunch, dinner, and at 4 o'clock, I'm like, did I eat today? You know, it's like sometimes as caregivers, we forget to put ourselves as priority. And so that's what today's episode is about.
And we'll talk about that.
But what I want to ask you is can you define nutrition for us? Because as you're talking about nutrition and nutrients, can you define that for us so that our listeners will understand what you're talking about?
So nutrition really is, which people don't really think about it. Let me tell you what people think. Well, I don't even think if people think about nutrition, but when you eat something, nutrition is designed to help your body grow and repair and thrive. That's what it is. And so it's giving you nourishment, fuel. That's what it is, for your cells, for your muscles, for your body. So when we think about eating, and I'm telling you what I like, right? So hot chicken wings or hot Cheetos or something, right? And so when I eat, let's say hot Cheeto, you eat a hot Cheeto and it tastes good. And you might even be full, like you had it as a snack and now you're like, I'm good. I can do whatever I want to do. But with the hot Cheeto, was there any nutrition in it? No. It's really not even food, honestly. It tastes good, but it's not really food. So if you're eating a hot Cheeto, was there anything in there for your body to take out nutrients wise and put into your cells so that you can grow and repair? And so anything other than, if it's not doing that, then you didn't have nutrition. You ate something, but you didn't give your body what it needed. And that's what we have to think of. We have to have that idea of, am I giving my body nutrients, or am I just giving my tongue and my belly something that I enjoy? And that sometimes is the same thing, because we can have and eat nutrition that we like, and then we just have stuff that we just like and there's just no value in it whatsoever, but it just tastes so good, and that serves the purpose too. But you want to give your body enough fuel so that you can build and repair and grow. A lot of, as I said this before, illnesses and diseases and pains and all of those things stem from a nutritional deficiency gone unchecked over time, year after year. Yeah.
So then the way that you're describing nutrition, in some ways, somebody saying good nutrition is kind of an oxymoron, because nutrition is good. Nutrition is feeding your body. And so I think a lot of times people get diet and nutrition mixed up, and they're
I didn't think of it that way.
Well, yeah, they're two different things as I'm listening to you, because I mean, diet is what you're eating, it's like kind of like what you're eating.
What you're eating.
Versus
whatever it is.
Nutrition is fueling your body and giving your body the right nutrients.
Yeah, that's a good one. I never even thought of it that way. I like, you're right, because people say good nutrition. It is an oxymoron, because if it's nutrition, it's good. Like if it is like by definition, it's nutrition. Food, the diet, what you're eating, could be anything.
Right. So, and I think maybe if for you listeners out there, hopefully that's helping you, like as you understand the definition, maybe it will help you when you're thinking about what to eat or what not to eat. It will kind of help you understand
if you understand the definition of nutrition, you will understand what it is you should eat. You're basically wanting to feed your body, heal your body with the food.
I actually, this is a true story. I had, because I'm human, and I had some ruffles. And I always do this. This is just like my daily thing. And I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables because I just do, but I'm like, did I eat enough? Did I eat more carrots and vegetables and spinach and kale than I'm eating of these ruffles? I'm like, let me make sure. And that's just what I asked myself. It's like, what did I give myself that was powerful today?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do today for that? And then you feel like, okay, I did that.
And that helps. I let's see, by the time this podcast will be published, I will be on day 21 of no sugar.
Aha.
And it's because my brother, he fusses at me all the time, but I had a bad weekend. Like, it was a for real binge weekend. I had on Friday night, my husband said, "You want to go for dessert?" And whenever he says that, I know that he's talking about Cheesecake Factory. So we went to Cheesecake Factory. I had tiramisu and a side of vanilla ice cream.
Oh, wow.
The next day, my daughter happened, and her family were in town. And so my friend had made dinner for us. And this was just a few weeks ago. She baked 2 cakes. She baked my daughter's favorite cake and another cake. And I said, oh, I'm just going to have a sliver. But then that sliver became 3 slivers, which is, I might as well just have a big slice of cake.
Correct.
And then the next day, my nephew, he bakes and he cooks. And so we were having a big thing at my mom's house, just us and my mom and my sister who lives with her. And I asked him he makes these awesome homemade cinnamon rolls that are like cinnamon rolls, but he makes them from scratch, and a red velvet cake. So literally 3 days in a row, I had all of this, and I'm diabetic. So on Monday, I was feeling sick, obviously. And so that's when I said the next day, I was like, this is crazy. I've got to take control. And my brother was like, it's not just taking control. It's a matter of life and death. And when he said that, I was like, I know that. I know better. And I know that it is a matter of life and death for me to heal myself. And that's when I said no sugar. And, he goes, there are other addictions besides alcohol and substance, drugs. And I was like, I know, but I don't know why sometimes it's just so hard for us to implement what we know up here, to implement it into our life.
I can answer that.
Okay.
I can answer that. So I can answer why it's so hard. I'm going to answer why it's so hard. I'm going to just say, I'm making a note because I'm going to come back to why it's so hard, because I'm going to tell you why it's so hard. But the other part, I want everybody to understand, there is no get there. There is no like, when I lose weight, then this. I think health and nutrition and being your best self it's always going to happen. It's always going on. There's no end of the road. It's like being on a mechanical bull, right? You're trying to hold on and it throw you off and get back on. That's what this journey is when it comes to our relationship with food and nutrition. And I think we sometimes feel guilty, like, why did I do this? Or it's always going to be like that. It just is. It's something we have to work on all the time. But why is it so hard? It's not just like sugar is sets off a excitement in your brain, right? So you eat it and it tastes good, but your brain, it triggers. So it's like a drug. Like when people are like a drug addict, like, why can't you just stop doing meth or crack or whatever? Because it's in your body and your brain. It's hard. It's a power over you. So you have to know that it's not just willpower, right? It is sometimes, but your brain, it's trying to get it because it likes it. You're trying to fight against like uphill battle. It likes it. And the more sugar we get, the more sugar we want. If you and anybody else, if you do go a long time without sugar and you don't see it, like the longer you go without it, the longer you can go without it until you put it back in your mouth. Yes. So, or you see it, right? You may not even be thinking about it. And then you see a donut. You're like, let me taste that. Because it triggers. And then all of a sudden now you want more and more and more. So it's a physiological thing. It's not just, yeah. And the food that we have is designed
to
for
make us
that.
feel like that. So Robin, you were talking about how, it's really our brain that wants more of that. And you were actually saying that the food is designed to help us to make us want more.
Yes, and it wasn't always designed that way. But what the marketers know is that if they don't add more sugar, more salt, more fat, you won't eat as much. So if the cheesecake has a normal amount of sugar, you could say, okay, that was good, I'm okay with that. But if they put more in there, then your taste buds and your brain are like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. And the more you eat cheesecake, the more cheesecake they're going to make, the more they're going to sell, the more money they're going to make. So it doesn't behoove them to make it so that you can just stop on a whim. It's a money maker. So cereal, like back in the day, if you look at cereal back 50 years ago, it just had a small amount of sugar. Now you have all these sugary cereal, everything is extra so that we can just say, we can't say no. And it's designed in the lab that way. So when people say, why can't I just stop? Because you can't just stop. It's like you just had crack and you can't just say, why didn't you just stop? Your body starts to feel it's designed. Your body knows and wants it. So it's not just that easy. That's why.
And I know that to be very true. And I thought it was just me until I heard a lady at work say the same thing, because my drug of choice is chocolate. Like I love sugar, pies, pastries, all that, but chocolate is my favorite. And I literally, when I can eat a piece of chocolate and literally before I even swallow that, I already want more. And I heard this other lady say the same thing. I was like, really? I thought that was just me. And it's crazy. Like you just want more, like right away. So
I'm a trick for that
like
too.
Really, really unfortunate that our food's like that.
Oh, and chocolate, there is a nutrient, like our body wants, because our body craves and knows what it wants and it needs, right? So it's the truth of what it needs. And so sometimes with chocolate, like it really wants the cacao with the nutrients that are in it. If you were to eat dark chocolate that's actually bitter, your body would get what it needed, but your mind would not want it satisfied. So try to eat some dark chocolate and see what happens, because you really will, like, you'll get it. You'll get what your body is wanting from the chocolate side, but your palate and your brain is not going to be turned on to keep getting more. So try it. It doesn't taste good, but it works. So when I'm having a chocolate craving, I'll do that. If I'm doing a program where I'm not on, I'm not doing sugar or something like that, then I'll do that. Let me say this too, because as I said about, and this is a part of self-care, but I always recommend, I do now, that at least 10 days out of the month, every single month, that we give our bodies a break. Meaning that I do a program where in those 10 days, we do push back on the things that don't serve us, but we flood our bodies with what does, just for 10 days. And what happens when you do that every month, first of all, it's a good routine, because you're going to do it every month, because you have the other 20, 21 days of the month, to do whatever you do. But when you start to do that, your body starts to shift into that. It starts to want more good. And that's what we want to do, is to train it. So I always, as a protocol, 10 days out of every month, we focus. And again, what happens is on the 11th day, when people they've trained themselves for 10 days to give their body the good stuff. On the 11th day, they still want the good stuff. On the 12th day, they still want the good stuff. And they're like, they were ready in their mind on day 1. Okay, by day 11, I'm going to have chocolate and chips and whatever. And then they're like, but I don't want that now. So
it's like a reset.
Every month. I do it every month because it works. And it's just, yeah, it is a reset. Because again, it's a mechanical bull thing. You're on it, you're falling off, and you got to get back on. You went to a birthday party and they had tiramisu, and you know, it's just it's always this. So we have to have a strategy to combat the reality of what we're working against. Where it's like, again, pushing a boulder up a hill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not.
Yeah, I'll have to try that. So with my no sugar these past, I literally have had to take it one moment at a time, like not even one day at a time, like one moment at a time, because I had a friend who quit smoking and she said it had been 10 years, but she said, I could easily right now pick up a cigarette and she goes, I still take it one day at a time, 10 years later. And I was just thinking about that, but you're right. Like a lot of times when I do this, it's not the first time I've done it, but my cravings go away, and it is easier to push the stuff away until, that one time.
So you put it one time. It's
one
that
time.
quick. Yeah, just like a cigarette. You didn't have it for all these years, and the minute you put it in your mouth, you're like, give me more.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of tips and tools and nuances, and I find it fun to figure out the best strategy to do this, because there's always a strategy and there's always a do-over. As long as we're living, there's a do-over. Like, okay, I didn't do that right. Yeah.
So for my listeners, they are caregivers and they spend a lot of time taking care of someone else. And a lot of times it's not your little, you're not like a mom taking care of your little kids. They're doing above and beyond that. So they might be taking care of the little kids, but also taking care of a parent, or a parent might be taking care of an adult child. And so it gets very, very busy and time consuming, and we forget about ourselves. So what can you say about the importance? So as we talk about self-care and self-love and making ourselves a priority and putting that oxygen mask on ourselves first so that we can take care of someone else, what can you say about self-care and nutrition, or self-care and diet, that can help someone out there who might be struggling with that? I mean, just what is the, how important is it?
Well, you all know how important it is. Without me saying how important it is, you already know. But I will say this. I had the benefit of being the only child growing up. So I was like, my mom was like, do for self. You're the only one. I didn't have, like, I learned early on about taking care of myself and self-care, and I took that into my life. So, and I'm going to get to the point about, as a caregiver, and there's the in theory, and then there's a reality, because especially if the caregiver is a woman, we're nurturers. We're wired for that. We're wired to make sure that everybody else is okay first. That's just, and so to shift that, like, we really have to shift that, because nobody is okay if you ain't okay. At the end of the day, like, really, I've learned that also because I'm a mom. But what happens is, and I'm going to get to the nutrition part, but this is just the reality. If you are caring and giving to everybody, which is what we do, then you are depleted. You're depleted in your cells. You're depleted in your brain. And now you're mad at everybody. Like, you're resentful. Like, it's just not a good thing, right? And so I always say, because we think, oh, if I stop to care for myself, I'm being selfish, which is fine. And then I'm going to not do what I need to do for that other person. And you will. Because if you don't do what you need to do for you, you can't do what you need to do for them long term. And it just is a bad formula. Now, what I challenge people to do, and I'll talk about the nutrition, because I understand you're busy and you're like, I need something quick. But I challenge you to understand and honor yourself, because the love you're giving to the other person that you're caring for, you've got to give that same love to you. Because how are you going to thrive? You will die trying to keep somebody else alive. That's the truth, right? I've seen that, where the person that was caregiving died, right? And the person that was alive. You're like, I gave so much care to them that they just forgot about themselves. So that's easier said than done. So, and self-care it is food, but it is, there's a lot of other things that go into it. And it has to be where you put yourself on the list first. Have a list and put yourself on it, like write yourself into the list first. So with the food, right? So we're talking about the fuel that you need to keep going. So we talked about that. But then the question is, well, how? I'm busy. I'm moving this person around. I'm doing all these things. When do I have time to make something for them and me? And I'm on the go. How? Like, I hear you, but how? So when you're so busy like that, some of the tools that I use, not everybody likes smoothies, not everybody likes protein drinks, but I use it as a tool because it's quick and it's easy and I can put a lot of nutrients in it. And I'm not going to go into the, like, what should you put in your smoothie, and we'll see if we have time for that, because you want to make sure that it's a balanced smoothie. But you can make a very powerful protein smoothie. And I use fruits and vegetables in a capsule. I don't actually take multivitamins. That's another story. But I put all my produce in my smoothie with my protein. I blend it up and I drink it while I'm doing a whole bunch of other 1,000 things, right? So I standing up, I'm running, I'm drinking it, but I know that I gave my body that fuel. I gave my body the fuel right off the bat in the morning. That's one of the tips. I also recommend that and this is time, you take the time at some point during the week, 1 or 2 days a week, and prepare big enough food or meal for yourself. So I, every week, cut up a big salad, and I mean a big one, so it'll last a week. I put it in there, so now I don't have to think. Because when you have to think about what you eat, you're gonna pick up some whatever,
the wrong
right?
stuff.
Like the chips are there, and I can eat those. Yeah, because it's easy, it's there. But if you have the salad or the rest stuff there, then that's easy. You're like, oh, okay, I'll just go get my salad. And so in my salad, if you eat animal protein, or if you don't, there's other things you'll put in there. But like I'll put eggs and beans and make protein rich. My big salad. And so my meal, protein every morning, the protein drink, in the middle of the day, I can have a big salad, or I will put some green beans in a pot. I'll do some vegetables in the middle of the day. Then in the evening, I'll have, like last week I just had tacos. Like I had turkey made and I just did tacos every day. So it was just simple. Like I planned it out, but it had to be simple. And because that's the only way to make it work if you're busy, is to be simple, but have a plan. Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense, and it's very easy. And it's interesting that you said that, because I just recently did that, not knowing that. So I also have a protein smoothie in the morning, and it's true. Like I can drink it doing whatever I'm doing. And then what I did is they have at the grocery store, they have this it's a big giant bag of lettuce. What's the lettuce and the Caesar salad?
Romaine.
Yeah, so it's a big giant bag of romaine. So I got that, and I got some spinach, and I just kind of mixed it all together and put it in big gallon-sized bags in the fridge. And then I got one of my little thing that has sections, and I already had like olives, and I shredded some beets, and I just had all the things in there. So all I had to do was like grab the salad mixture and then add my stuff. And I was like, why haven't I done this before? Because it's pre-prepared, so I don't have to think about, oh, what do we have to put in the salad, or what, any of that. It's just already there, and it lasted me a couple of days, and so I just literally did that. So
and it literally helps. It does. It makes it so that you can that's one less thing to think about, and you can keep it moving, and you're giving yourself the nutrients. So that's my solution, is to take a couple of times a week to actually make it planned and make. I was actually just talking to my mom, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna make some turkey and make tacos for the week, or whatever the case may be. And that's one of the strategies that I use to get it in, because though I'm not a caregiver outside of my child, but I'm not an active caregiver of an adult, but I'm still busy. and I still don't have time or don't even want to go in the kitchen and cook up a whole big old anything. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't, but I still need to eat. So that is my suggestion, is to know. I think about love. I'm going to go back to just loving yourself, just knowing that you deserve yourselves you have to love yourself and love your cells in your body enough to give it what it needs to love you back. Because there's a relationship there. There's a relationship between you and your cells that you need to cultivate, just as you cultivate the relationship with you and everybody, whatever relationships you have. That's a relationship.
Right. So this series that we're doing for April is called Back to the Basics of Self-Care. We are talking about nutrition, diet and nutrition, sleep and exercise. Because a lot of times these days I hear people talking about self-care, and number one, I'm trying to get people to attach always, when you think of self-care, to think of self-love. And I think thinking about it, self-love, that will help people want to practice better self-care. And I'm a total work in process when it comes to self-care. I have not, it's only been probably in the last year that I've been doing this, and it has made a huge difference in my life. And so I think as people, think about those two things, but a lot of times when people discuss self-care, they're talking about going to get their nails done or their hair done or going shopping. Those things are awesome, but if you have not put the basics in place, those things are not going to help you feel better. They're not going to help you. They're not going to help you feel better as far as self-love and self-care. The basics are, you got to eat right, you need to exercise, and you need to get some good sleep. Because if you're doing everything else and not doing those three things, and this is just my opinion, your health is not gonna be what it should be.
It's not. And I think about, someone said this to me, because when you said about getting your nails done and your hair done, and she said it, I'm using what she said. She says, oftentimes we're vogue on the outside and vague in the inside. Like, we look really good, but our insides are struggling. And and I say, so vogue on the outside, vague in the inside. And that's the truth, that sleep is essential, and movement is essential, and eating and the other part of that is challenging as it is to always, I would say, mental food, to put good positive mental food in your mind too. Because what I find is that when I start my day off, even before I eat, in prayer, but also with reading something, read, write, or listen to those things that are in alignment with the person that you want to be, that does something to you in the morning. When you start that off with something powerful, inspirational, motivational, then you're like, yes, okay, that I remember who I want to be. It just, there's a fire in it. It's just like just how you trigger your mind when you put some sugar in your mouth. You trigger your mind when you put something spiritual, motivational, inspirational in your mind, because that lets you know your body is your blessing, your gift. And you're like, okay, let me honor myself that way. And then I'm going to go caregive. I'm going to do all that I have to do, but I did myself first. I made sure that I loved myself first. I loved myself first. That's hard. That's actually harder than for some than everything else. To recognize we deserve, and that we owe it to ourselves.
Right. I think I think I talked about this on one of my other podcasts. I think some of it for us Christians anyway is that in church we are taught to be humble and have humility and help our neighbor and all of those things. And I think a lot of times we take that the wrong way, and we're putting everybody else in front of us. But the scripture says, love your neighbor as thyself, which means the first step is to love yourself. And we kind of don't get that. So, Robin,
and you have to show up as an example.
Yes.
Right? Each one teach one. And your body is a temple. So in order, you clean that car, you helping the caregiving someone else, you gotta do that for yourself too, because God gave you this body that's a blessing. You just gonna ignore that? Like, it's your blessing. It's the whole place you live for 80, 90 years or however long you live. That is the house of your soul. Best you do right by it. That's being humble to, or being respectful to the gift you were given.
Yes.
That's what that is.
Yes.
Right?
That's
not being
awesome.
Vain. Yeah, you're not being vain. You're honoring what God has provided you. Yes. Otherwise,
preacher.
Oh, that's the truth, right? Otherwise, you're being disrespectful to the blessings, and we don't think of it that way, because you're caregiving for someone. Whatever happened to them, something happened to them, and you know that, right? You may be dealing with someone who has a stroke or whatever the case may be. Something happened to them, and why it happened, we don't know. But what we do know is that while you are able and functioning, be respectful of yourself. Yeah. And love thy neighbor like you love yourself.
So, right.
So,
oh my gosh, I love it. We could talk all day. This is some good stuff that you've talked about. I just, even from the very beginning, one of my takeaways, a big takeaway was putting my name on the list.
Yes.
Because I have good intentions all the time of eating, taking care of myself. But I think because I have to make lists every day just because there's so much stuff to do. But putting my name on the list, I think that's going to be huge. I hope caregivers, did you guys all hear that? Put your name on the list. The other thing I think will be easy for the caregivers is that smoothie, salad, dinner, and preparing, just getting that prep done. I think that's a big deal. And again, I know that, but it's just implementing it. But I'm really going to try, especially because I saw how this whole salad thing, how it worked. And I like how you say, love yourselves, and one of the things I talk about
love
a
yourselves.
lot, it's huge.
Yeah. Gotta love yourselves, like yourselves in your body, so they can. Yeah,
because if you think about it like that, that helps you. That helps you to remember. I need to put some nutrition in my body. I need to get some sleep. I need to take a nap. Just love yourselves. And one of the things I talk about a lot is rest, relaxing, and rejuvenating. And that's where that rejuvenating comes in, is loving yourselves, rejuvenate yourselves, rejuvenate that brain and your insides. So awesome. And then the whole
it's a process. Easier said than done though, right?
Yes.
It's a process.
Yes.
It is a process. That's why I said I was fortunate enough. My mama, I'm the only child, and my mom was really good at setting boundaries and teaching me that early. So I didn't grow up any other way, but I knew that. And so that's my blessing, because it's natural to me, but I'm able to share with other people, because it's like a reminder. You're like, oh, like, put myself first, put myself on the list. Oh, because I do have a list, and I have everybody on the list. Like, I have go to the grocery store and and so I put myself on the list too, because sometimes I forget to do, like, I have to put exercise on my list. So like, if I look at my list, did I do that? Like, yes or no, it's on the list. So yes, put yourself on the list.
Well, are there any final thoughts or any products or progress? Is there anything else, any last words you want to say to our caregivers out there?
Love yourselves. Love yourselves. That's one thing. Yourselves. CELLS. And then my website, I'll give you all my website. So nessynutri.com. And I do a variety of things. But one of what I do is I'm a strategist. So I help people to figure out what their goal is and what strategy to put in place to do that. And that's different for everybody. I mean, some of it is just something simple where we're taking more fruits and vegetables and we're figuring out how to do that in an easy way. Or sometimes people want to work directly with me. We have a 5-week program, and it's an accountability program on weight management, on exercise, but being accountable to yourself. I have a client right now, I'm gonna keep this short, but one of the things on our accountability list is for her to stay off of social media because it upsets her, but she's on there all the time. So part of her nutrition plan includes a social media detox during that time. So I just work with people with where they need, and sometimes what they need is not me, meaning that I talk to someone and I realize I'm not the best fit for them, but I know another professional that they could connect with that's better. And then I do offer free consultations on my website for those who just want to talk and figure out, sometimes you just need to talk. And sometimes I can just literally say after 20 minutes, oh, this is what I recommend, and they don't need anything else. They're like, oh, okay, I'll do that, and that makes sense. So that's it. Love yourself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, well, we are going to wrap up. I'm so grateful that you came on, and hopefully you'll come back and join us at some point.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and end now. And for all of you listening, please hold from some important announcements, and we're going to end this. Thank you again. I'm so grateful. This was awesome. I learned a lot. Thank you.
You can find Sandra on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Caregivers Haven. If you enjoyed listening to Caregivers Haven podcast, please share, subscribe, follow, and favorite.